Why don't you join me in the front? That's better. I'd like to see your pretty faces in the front, please. Thank you very much. Thank you. Whenever. I'm going to introduce the panel with you, and then we'll start shortly. But before I call the panel, may I please request that everybody welcomes them with a huge round of applause, especially yours, sir. I know that you can give a good round of applause, so we'll try that. First and foremost, we have with us Dr. Suniti Vadalkar. Please welcome her, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Ma'am, please. If I could request you to sit in the center, that will be nice. So we equally distributed between the two men here. Please, this way. Thank you. The next we have is Mr. Thaigo Waliappa. Sir, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you. And last but not the least, we have with us Mr. Arunagiri Mudala. Please, sir. See, there you go. Very well. Thank you very much. Oh, the names are like that. Wonderful. Thank you very much. So at a moderator, it becomes a little difficult to swap between that, but any which way. Are you sitting comfortably? Yes. Everybody, wonderful. I'm not. It just goes a little back. Okay. We're here to talk about indigenous knowledge, which, believe me, I don't have much. So I have my friends who've helped me through that. But in general, indigenous knowledge is seen as very traditional wisdom. So I'm going to deep dive into the questions directly, and then we can all have some fun. I know we have 40 minutes with us, so we're going to do some talking, and then we're going to open the session to the audience. And believe me, the panel sitting here, literally with me, are legends in the industry, so feel free to ask them any question that you feel like. I'll start with the first one, and my question to Dr. Suniti. Why do you think indigenous knowledge is important in times today?
Thank you, Sonakshi, for that question. I'll give you the perspective of two thought leaders. One is Peter Drucker, the marketing guru and educator. His quote is, "Culture eats strategy for breakfast." What a powerful quote. Yeah. That is the importance of culture. You can be the most intellectual person in the world, but culture will be gobbled up. Intellect will be gobbled up by culture. So that's what Peter Drucker has to say. And then Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs says, we can never ever connect the dots looking forward. We can only connect them looking backward and hope that they align in the future. So this is something he said in his Stanford address in 2005. You can Google search it and figure that out. So these two thought leaders have just stated something so very important that is impossible for us to ignore what indigenous knowledge is and what has come to us through the traditions.
Thank you very much. You float in the culture in the first dialogue itself. Wonderful. Sir, may I have your thoughts on this?
Yeah. For me, Sonakshi, indigenous knowledge is actually the cultural heritage of a country or a place. And let me tell you one thing, that culture of an country is what determines the self-concept that people of that country harbor. And let me tell you a research from one of my books called Unleash Your Potential. They say that 90% of the results that human beings produce comes from their self-concept. So what we are discussing here, Sonakshi has rightly said, is something very, very deep. For example, we in India, we are very, very fortunate to have a very, very deep and a very profound indigenous educational culture. Our Vedic system, we were among the first in the world to have a university, Nalanda University.
Yes.
Okay, we were the first among the civilization who had given importance to the inner journey. If you see our Gurukul system, to be frank with you, that is what we are all going back to, because Gurukul system was a place when the children at the age of 3 to 4 were handed over to a guru, the teacher. And they were at the age of 3 to 4 initiated into something called as Brahma Upadesham, which was nothing but meditation. And today the entire world is talking about the importance of meditation as a thought leadership, which gives you life leadership. So all of this were our indigenous education. Unfortunately, we got colonized, and the colonial power, literally, in order to ensure their survival as the rulers, literally killed our indigenous education, which was something whose brunt we are facing till now. The 250 years of rule by the Britishers, they systematically killed our indigenous society, be it the Gurukul system. They also killed our Sanskrit, which is the most scientific language known. Even today, the entire Germany is talking about researching on that and finding it to be the most appropriate for computers or software. Okay, they also killed off all the other institutions which we were proud of. So as we are talking about something very deep, and today India is re-emerging mainly because the current leaders, even though we are a little late, we are again revisiting our indigenous thing, and you can see what it is bringing to India in terms of the growth. Last quarter we grew at about 8.5%, the fastest in the world, because we are revisiting our indigenous culture, education, the way of life.
Thank you very much, sir. It does make sense because as a university professor, I cannot fathom at this point of time if somebody tells me we will go back to the Gurukul system, but how I wish we were a lot more rooted. So thank you. Thank you for those thoughts. Sir, over to you, please.
Thank you, and good to be here today. I think when you talk about Indian heritage or Indian systems of academics, education, healthcare, compare it to maybe 300, 500 years ago, I think, as another panelist spoke, before the English came to India. All of them were skill-based, all of them were knowledge-based, and all of them were experiential-based. Yes. Today, those days, probably there were very less paper and there was no books. So there were practical learning and practical exposure and practical knowledge, which was meant to be called skill, if you like. And today we are spending millions and millions of rupees to get that skill back. Yes. So if you really look at the academic system, what we have built today, needs to be taken from the leaf of maybe 1,500, 1,500 years ago, 2,000 years ago, when actual heritage education was the beginning. And this is where, you see the technology was made those days. We always compare ourselves saying we are modern and they are primitive. Sorry. I think the time has come for us to learn a lot from them. Yes. For me, this is a huge area of focus because we've created our own yoga base now. Yes. So we have probably one of the record books. We have more than 10 lakh people doing yoga on a daily basis. We have pranayama in a very big way. Yes. And all this works on the mind. Yes. So I think the mind is what the most important thing. And I think Indians way back, maybe 2-3 centuries ago, started thinking of those things, and today we are going back in this space. Of course, I don't want to get into the most hot topic today of AI and things like that, but then what I say, actual intelligence is more important than artificial intelligence.
Wonderful thought. But I am going to deep dive into AI, okay? So I'm not leaving you there. But nonetheless, I do understand that when we talk about getting back and restructuring our methods to again align with the indigenous knowledge. And on that basis, I will ask you my second question, which is, because you have experience in training and teaching and coaching, and you're legends in the academia, and especially in academia, how can academic institutions integrate indigenous knowledge and not merely keep it to a cultural activity? That is a very common feature that we see at universities, specifically UAE, that most of the indigenous knowledge is treated as just a side activity, a cultural activity. But how do you make sure it is a part and parcel of academic institutions? And I would like to begin with you, sir.
Sure. So when you look back at our education system in the recent years, it's mostly mugging or by-hearting. And that is one of the biggest problems today, because you want to make people understand that you need to decide within a fraction of a second. You can't keep learning something and coming in, putting it in a paper and saying, I know everything. Yeah. Because you know nothing. So what we've done is we've tried to create a huge opportunity like a Gurukul system, very similar to that. So we've tried to build in the mindset engineering to a start. So we work on the mindset. So we've built this model through pranayama. So if you see the short breath versus the long breath of students, so the people who are stressed out have more short breath, and the people who are relaxed have the lesser short breath. So the pranayama creates a kind of a positive mindset first. That is one side of the story. Another side is the kind of thinking that you need to do, like quizzing has gone out of the roof. I mean, even when we were youngsters, maybe 20 years ago, quizzing was big. Today, we're bringing back quizzing back into the system. Because you need to be pronto. I mean, so for example, I'm just comparing it to a cricket match today. A bowler and a batsman. Bowler is proactive, a batsman is reactive. So the batsman reacts within that maybe a split seconds.
Yes.
You can't say that, oh, he is supposed to bowl like this and I'm supposed to play like that. So there's no rule book for that.
Yes.
So now you need to have your strength in taking decisions in that kind of a way. So that is where the academics really should work. So we are building in a modern, but using the historic way of learning through a brand called Scale. So Sona Center for Advanced Learning and Entrepreneurship. So this is building all this together from the industry point of view. So what does the industry want? We want you to problem solve, decide fast, take action, leadership. So these are the things which are missing today at an academic level.
Yes.
And this is where we call Scale as the first school for all colleges.
That's wonderful. Thank you very much, sir. I do believe that there's a lot of rote learning that happens in, which you say mug up, or a rote learning pattern, which happens a lot in universities and schools, and they have to come up with these innovative methods to sort of quicken their decision making. That I totally agree. And with that, I will move to you, sir. What are your thoughts on this, please?
Yeah, very much. In fact, I just wanted to differentiate this because education is not information. Mugging of information is not at all. That's the reason why, if you all appreciate that most of the students you pass out of any university, you ask them to start an enterprise. You ask them to get them into an industry and ask them to start being productive. They are not. Most of the industries have to give them 6 months further education for them to become productive again. So, which is actually a tragedy. Actually, students who are spending 3 years, 5 years, completing their degree, but the day when they walk out of the college, they are not being able to do what they are supposed to be knowing, because it's all rote learning. Education is actually transformation. Education is about, ability to think independently, ability to think differently, and education is to make you productive and make a difference in the world, which is actually totally lacking. And that's why by our indigenous Indian education, or for that matter, many other countries like Japan, South Korea, Bhutan, China, all of them also have got indigenous. I wouldn't say only India. But Indian I can talk about because I know about my country. And we were really profound. In fact, I just wanted to share with you, from the 1st century to the 13th century, India was the #1 economy in the world. They are the golden land. And even up to 18th century, we were contributing 28% of the world GDP. That was our history. And that was all because of the indigenous education, the type of culture we had, which is what was giving us humongous prosperity. We were called the Sone ki Chidiya of the world, the golden land. And that all came out of our education, the way we were brought up. And Sonakshi, I can still believe that, once we start, in fact, Indian government has come out with the new educational policy 2020, where they have absolutely gone back to our Gurukul system. Our education is not going to be English-based. Our education is going to be mother tongue-based. We have 29 states, we got almost 100 languages. We want our children to learn in their mother tongue. And when they learn in their mother tongue, they are much more intelligent, much more grasping the concepts, and they're much more powerful.
But does that also make them globally, would it be a challenge globally as well?
Because in fact, I am a person who till the age of 5 studied in Tamil medium in Bombay. And I had Tamil as my subject up to the 10th standard. And today I train across the globe, educating all the top CEOs. So I'm an example of having studied in the indigenous education.
That's lovely. So I should take your autograph already and keep it with me, isn't it? Thank you very much, sir. Ma'am, over to you, please.
Yeah, I'd like to quote 2 examples. Something is what I personally do to address this question and what my university does. So taking up from what our first panelist mentioned about pranayama and the ancient Indian methods of breathing, focusing on breath, which was proposed by Maharshi Patanjali. So he says in his sutras, yoga, I'm speaking of the word yoga, which today conventionally we think yoga means doing asanas on a mat. He says, yoga chitta vritti nirodha. That means any activity for you which puts a full stop to your wavering mind, for you it's yoga. Like I found my yoga through my watercolors and my calligraphy, because the minute I hold my brush, my jumping monkey mind just comes to a standstill. So that's the remote which I got. And ancient, this is ancient knowledge. How did I package it and make it contemporary in today's world? By offering it as, wow, a remote for your monkey mind. So it's the same knowledge, but because times have changed and generations have changed, and maybe the youth may not like to hear the word Yoga Sutra or Patanjali, I'm using the same wisdom, but packaging it in a way which is more youth-friendly. So I do draw my inspiration from Patanjali Yoga Sutra. However, I package it in a way which is more acceptable to the current 21st century generation. So that's what I personally do through Wonders of Wellness or WOW. And I'll also like to share what my university Flame does to ensure that there is a bridge between this, and then it sees that the indigenous knowledge does reach students. I had mentioned this in my day one narrative also, that we have something called as the Discover India program, which is an experiential learning program wherein a group of 12 to 15 students literally go on the field with a faculty mentor to study a particular topic. Let me just share 2-3 topics wherein I personally was a mentor. We went to the sacred grove somewhere in South India. I didn't know that, oh my God, there are so many hills and mountains, and which has so much of flora, fauna, species, which are so medicinal and useful for us. And those were the sacred groves which we were studying. They do not have a temple in the conventional temple format. They just light a simple lamp over there, and that's the temple. The villagers told us one fine day in the morning, come, let's go and see the temple. And the conventional way we see temples, whether churches or temples or mosques are, it is going to be some huge structure. And we were going in the forest, and I was saying, okay, fine, I'm going to see something large, because that was a mindset which I had. And then suddenly the villager stops, and he points out to a tree, and he says, one lamp was there. He says, this is our temple, because we don't want the cosmic energy to be confined within walls. Now, that was such a different perspective of taking care of that entire land just by lighting a simple lamp. Okay, we went to Madhya Pradesh. I was studying something called as March, which is lyrical folk theatre. So in that theatrical form, everything, whether I'm inviting somebody on stage, that has to be sung. Imagine how creative that has to be, how creative. We went to Ooty to study communities called Todas and Kotas, who are like the PTGs or the primitive tribal groups. Hardly 5,000 were existing way back when we went in 2010. And how they live and how they are impressed and how they derive their understanding from nature around. For example, a Toda hut, which is called as a mund, it has got a roof, and the hay placed on the roof has got 7 layers because they derive inspiration from the rainbow. The baby is not allowed to see, the father is not allowed to see the baby child for a fortnight or so till the baby is taken to the forest, and the baby first sees the rays of the sun, listens to the brook flowing, listens to the birds chirping. Then the other family members besides the mother can see the baby. I couldn't believe my eyes that where are we and what are these people doing? So this is just to quote 3 examples, and students come back from there and they need to write a research report, create a 5-minute documentary, and give their presentation to an external jury. So I think this knowledge wherein students literally go out on the field and study. This I went with them as mentor, I don't know how many years back, but I still can't forget every single day of what I learned on the field. I think this is a great way to bring indigenous knowledge back to contemporary times in today's classroom.
That's beautiful. Though the third example of yours gave me anxiety. If I had to leave my child to 10 days, 15 days without watching, I'd probably be more anxious and dependent. But thank you very much.
No, the mother sees the baby. The other people in the house do not see till it sees nature. That's the thing.
Okay, whenever I have one. But thank you so much, ma'am. That's wonderful. I also like the fact that you said that we have to make education a lot more digestible, and so we have to custom package it where it has to be on the brink of traditionality and modernity and combining the two. So thank you so very much. That's wonderful. I'll move to my next question then, which says, like you were talking about the herbal medicine. Indigenous knowledge where do you think indigenous knowledge has offered solutions to modern challenges? Whether the modern challenges strive at sustainability or well-being or healthcare in general, what do you think are the solutions that could be offered? And sir, may I start with you, please?
Sonakshi, again, a brilliant question. I, for one, believe that in today's modern society, if you see, we are all having lifestyle diseases. Okay, diabetes is going through the roof. Blood pressure is the challenge. We've got mental ailments going across the globe in a very, very big manner. Now, all of them, we have solutions in our indigenous education. Like my panelists were very well talking about, Dr. Sunati and Tyagu were talking about pranayama. I just wanted to ask this lovely participants here, do you know what is the lifespan of a human being? How long are we supposed to live? Anybody? Give me a guess. Give me a guess.
Actually, 120 years.
I would have thought about
sorry?
70 years, 80
No, one
years.
second. Let the participant. 120 years. Yes, 120.
Wow. Could I get your name, ma'am, please?
The right answer is 160 years. I'll tell you how. Again, look at the science. Again, what my panelists were talking about. Your lifespan depends upon your rate of breathing. If you see a dog, it breathes about 80 times a minute. The lifespan is 12 to 14 years. If you see a horse, it breathes about 30 times a minute. The lifespan is 30 years. If you see an elephant, it breathes about 20 times a minute. Its lifespan is 100 years. If you see a tortoise, it breathes hardly about 4 to 5 times a minute. The tortoise lives for 500 years. And friends, lastly, sea snakes, they breathe about 1 to 2 times a minute and they survive for 1,000 years. Now the question is, what about we human beings? We are supposed to, as human beings, breathe about 12 to 14 times a minute. And if you breathe in that span, you have an opportunity to live for 160 years. And what my learned panelists were talking about, when you learn pranayama, which was the ancient science of breathing, it's not only breathing, it was about managing your life force. When you do pranayama properly, you're breathing hardly about 2 or 3 times a minute. So there are 4 stages of breathing. There's basically inhalation, Purak, Kumbhak, Rechak, and Shuneka. All of them were ancient education. And today I've been very fortunate to learn that, practice it. And you'll not believe it, as long as I'm practicing it, I don't fall sick easily. I'm a basketball player. I had the good fortune of playing for the country when I was in the youth. But I used to play for about 1.5, 2 hours. I'm not boasting, but even today, I'm just 60 plus, but still, even today, every Sunday I play for about 90 minutes. Only because I do pranayama regularly. All of them were all the ancient educational system we had, where pranayama was there. Meditation is nothing but thought leadership. Like we had a problem of mental anxiety, right? What does meditation do for you? Meditation helps you to become an observer and not allow you to get taken away by any anxiety thoughts. And you have a control over your thoughts. When you have a control over your thoughts, you have a control over your mind. And when you have a control over your mind, you have a control over your life. So friends, all the ailments that we talk about are all there. The remedy is there in our indigenous education and society.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, sir. Ma'am, over to you, please.
Yes, I'd like to give a very novel perspective because we are speaking of education. Have you ever thought what is the benchmark or traits of a good student? We all know if anybody shows you gold, best gold, what is the benchmark? Anybody in the audience? Best gold?
24 carat?
Yeah, 24 carat.
24
All right,
carat.
24 carat. Best student? That's what our ancient Upanishads tell us. 5 traits of a good student. So I'll tell you fast in Sanskrit and translate it. Kaka cheshta. Kaka means crow. Persistence like a crow. The thirsty crow story. It didn't fly away to another river saying, "Isme pani nahi hai, there is no water in this pitcher. I might as well go and hunt water somewhere else." Persistence, first trait. Indigenous, doesn't it apply today? Thirsty crow. Kaka cheshta. Second, bako dhyana. Focus. That's what Wonders of Wellness, the initiative which I head, is all about. Focus. How do you stay away from the clutter and get to clarity? Focus. That stork standing on one leg in the water, waiting for the right fish to come, not taking any other fish, but focusing on the right fish to come. Ancient, indigenous, isn't it valuable even today?
Very much.
Shwana nidra. Shwana means dog. In case we have a pet at home, we feel that a dog is sleeping. The minute a door opens or the minute you just step off your bed and walk, it's just alert. That is how. Don't you think our students need to be alert? Indigenous, yet valuable. Kakacheshta, Bakodhyana, Shwana Nidra Tathaivacha, Alp Ahari. Alpa means little. Ahar is food. Consumption not only through our mouth, consumption through all our senses. Whatever we consume, students, should be the best. Then even if at all we consume a little, it is sufficient. Alp Ahari. Gruha Tyagi. Gruha means home. Tyagi means, leaving your home and going to a Gurukul. Only then you can gain more knowledge when you are away from the comfort. Like we have come from India, away from our comfort, and look at the learning. Even at this age, it is phenomenal. So these are the 5 traits. So Kakacheshta, Bakodhyana, Shwana Nidra Tathaivacha, Alp Ahari, Griha Tyagi, Vidyarthi, Panchalakshanam. 5 traits of a good student. Mentioned indigenous knowledge, Upanishads, valid even today. Not taught in schools or any academic institutions, and I genuinely feel it has to be taught.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And you probably will have to repeat that again for me sometime after the panel because I have forgotten midway, but definitely that makes a lot more sense. Thank you so very much, ma'am. Sir, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so I think they've spent a lot, but let me just tell you some context of this. So I work on something called mindset engineering.
Yes.
So the mindset engineering, I'll tell you why we started this. In 2020, there was an accident very close to our college where about 35 people died, but 16 different vehicles had an accident. The fastest got, but the shortest got. So we went in and said we will do a CSR for the government of India. So we did the complete mapping of the national highway. And then you'll be surprised when we did that data analytics. So you'll be surprised that on a no moon day, the accidents increased by about 40 to 45%. And I have data to show me that. And when it was and what is the accidents. So I'm a race car driver, so I drive really fast. So when there is a no moon day, I tell my driver not more than 100. So this is where you use so if you see the no moon day or the full moon day, the power of that is amazing. You get a lot of things which you do not know what happens. It's the energy management. So that's one thing I would like to say. And second thing is we spoke about gut health. We spoke about mind health, but next is gut health. So you used to have people do the Verdam. They don't eat for 1 day in a month or 2 days in a month. So that cleans the system out. So today the Verdam is huge opportunity because the system of making your system right is inbound. I've created a brand called Sona Gramam, where basically it goes back to Indian heritage research and things like that. This would be a game changer going forward. So why I'm saying this is the breathing fitness is such an important thing. So if you look at the golf game, or you look at billiards, or you look at chess, today you cannot blame anybody because you take your own point, you make your own goal because you move your right points or you hit the ball the right way. So we're doing a research on this. You know that one shot could mean, a few $1 trillion? Because the shot that you take, you breathe properly and take that shot, you'll get a better result. So it's a point of action where you breathe. So again, going back and then looking at that as an opportunity is a huge thing today, taking it today. The Sona College of Technology, Sona Medical College and Scale together are bringing this into the next level. So for me, academics is something much more deeper. It's not only books, it's not only technology, it's not only AI. I think you said you talk about it, but then the industry wants a successful person. The successful person can only be successful when he or she thinks and acts and believes in the system of these things. Say, for example, I'll just continue for another minute. Vastu today. Yeah. It's science. So most of this is science. So old wine in a new bottle would be required. So basically, we have created something called yoga. So it's office yoga. So you sit in office and do yoga in your chair. And Sonagramam is one of them. So instead of saying Guru cool, because the students want to be cool today, so say Go Cool. So create a new name called Go Cool, which will be an Indian heritage in a new old wine in a new bottle. So create a brand like that, I would say.
That's wonderful, sir. And I also believe that you've got the Sona College of Innovation, isn't it? And that's where these ideas are floating from. And you have a daughter whose name is Sonakshi. Congratulations to you. But thank you very much.
So just to say that on a Paurnami day, that is the full moon day, we have an ideation camp.
Yes.
So it's called Power on Me.
Oh.
So it's called Power on Me,
that's
which works
nice.
well. We've been doing this from 2017, and a lot of startups have come out of this, and it works wonders.
That is amazing. A couple of ideas that we could borrow from here is amazing. And one of the things that I have, I follow as much as I can possibly is alignment with moon. And I've heard my mother say things like, why don't you keep the bottle of water in the moonlight overnight, and it has some benefits, which obviously as a youngster I keep forgetting, but nonetheless. But I do understand that that is a very valuable feature. I know we are short on time, we're about 10 minutes, and I would want to open this to the audience if there are any questions that the audience has. Because if not, then I have another last question that I need to. But this is so interesting. So anybody who has a thought or a comment or a question or a compliment, the panel is awaiting you. Anyone? Oh, thank you. Yes, could you please tell me your name and then you can give me your question. I don't have a question. I want to add something. I'm going to use my voice. Sure, but then because you were recording, it is better if you use the mic, please. Thank you very much. We're going a live recording for this session. Could you tell me your name, please?
My name is Dima Abu Sharikh. I'm from Jordan. I think modern education systems, if they don't focus on indigenous knowledge, we can lose a lot of our core, okay, as people in this world. Now, in the IB, they have something that focuses on indigenous knowledge and on themselves and on their backgrounds and their cultures. So the students really focus on this thing. And I want to say how important preserving this knowledge, okay, for us as people, not only as students and teachers. That's all.
Thank you very much, Tina. That's very valuable. Anybody else? Any thought? Any question? Yes, please. If you could just join me here, share your name. Hello. Yes. You have a question as well, ma?
Just an observation.
Oh, please. Please give us
With her first.
We'll give you an opportunity. I'll just come back to you. Thank you. Yes, please.
Okay. Can you hear me? Yeah. My name is Anamika Sharma, and I am trying to tell you about the indigenous knowledge and the preservation from an Australian indigenous perspective. So what you guys are talking about yoga and the Sanskrit and our background is also very strongly taken forward by the Aboriginal people and the Australian government now, which is very new. Earlier, it was not there. There's something known as Ganma, which is a combination of salt water and sweet water, which is like an idiom or a symbol to show that the salt water of the old times is getting mixed with the sweet water of the modern education, and students are learning from that. So just sharing that it's happening around the world.
Thank you very much.
Wonderful.
Very kind of you to actually come and share that with us. It's called Ganama, you said.
Ganma.
Ganma, which is
Which is an
G-A.
idiom about mixture of G-A-N-M-A.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you very much. Very kind of you.
You were
Yes,
saying
please.
something, Dr. Suniti.
No, I
Dr.
said thank you.
Yeah. It's always good to know from the audience as well. There's, quite literally sitting gold here. Please, if you could. Thank you. If you could introduce yourself, please.
Thank you. My name is Hema. I'm from Malaysia. I work with Indigenous children in Malaysia. And one of the biggest problems that we have with Indigenous children in Malaysia is that the education system, the modern education system is so much decontextualized that when Indigenous children go to school, subsequently to higher education, if at all, is that they don't find it relevant to them because it doesn't talk anything about them, their culture, their environment. And so I'm curious to know about India, where you're from, and how, if at all, it has been adopted into the curriculum, into the pedagogy, how Indigenous knowledge is adopted into this element so that students feel that they belong in the modern education system.
In fact, the new educational policy declared by the central government of India, called NEP 2020, has gone deep into the research for Indigenous culture and education, and they are integrating to the modern system. I'll be frank with you, it's just a beginning start. It will take time, it will not happen overnight, but the intention is very, very clear that we need to understand, leverage the ancient system which has worked well, and then take it forward. So that's what is the endeavor being done in our country, in India.
I'll just add to one how we've kind of worked on it. So we have one of our colleges which is first in the university, and there was this batch of about 37 students where our principal felt that they may not pass or they may not do well. So we took this up, taught them. We had about 30 days. So within the 30 days, we took them up and started looking at all these things, what we spoke in the last 1 hour. And then you'll be surprised that all of them passed and passed well. And this was one of our case studies which we are promoting. So what happens is you start practicing this. It's very simple. So I think a lot of people talk about yoga, to do it in a proper room and other things. All of us get stuck in traffic jams every day for like half an hour, 1 hour. If you're in Bangalore or in Chennai, or Mumbai, probably much more. So you can do pranayama when you're in a car, when you're stuck in traffic. So that's as simple as it is. So I think we practice these things, you will find the results so immediate, which will be amazing for you to understand. You probably within the next 3 days, you'll feel better.
You promote it as a simple idea, though, right? People should see their faces when they're driving in Bangalore and Delhi. And primarily, you just have to look at a rearview mirror to see your face and say, oh my God, am I so exhausted and angry? But nonetheless, something that I'd like to share with you. So you come from Malaysia with similar backgrounds. I'm a university professor, and while I was researching on this topic, one thing that I found out was if the education system adopts a policy where we drop the paper and pen test, which talks about 70 marks of end-term exam and 30 marks of this, and make it to a curriculum, or basically it's a decolonization of the assessment methods to make it more like something on the lines of storytelling or case studies, or taking more of that kind of narrative approaches, then we could obviously work through this as well, and it would be a nicer idea. And I don't know how I'm going to adopt that, but I will try my best for sure. Thank you. We have 5 minutes. So if there's anybody else, and I can see who wants to ask a question, have a thought. Anyone with a question or a thought? Okay, lovely. Then to the panel, I have the last question. And the question is, and I would want you to be brief about this, but again, be very impactful because the audience is gathering and they're all watching us. Think of a local tradition you grew up with, any local tradition that you grew up with. What did it teach you that the textbook could not? I'll start with you, Dr. Suniti. Sir, if you don't mind.
Okay. I grew up with a tradition wherein we had a tulsi plant in my courtyard. Every morning, I had to water that plant and light a lamp, morning and evening. I didn't know why my parents and my grandparents were telling me to do that. Later on, when I grew up and I studied, because it was not mentioned in my academic books, so I was wondering why they're telling me to water only this plant. Later on, I realized its religious, cultural, medicinal benefits, how it purifies the air around, and the medicinal properties. So you can take a look at the medicinal properties. I don't have time to rattle them off, but how medicinal that one tulsi plant is. So this is something which is not taught in textbooks, nowhere, but I grew up with this knowledge.
Oh, nonetheless, thank you so much. I remember, I'll take a second here to share this with you, but my father used to feed me this tulsi leaf in the chai, which is a very traditional drink in India. And I don't know what is the benefit of it, but I remember the taste of it as the way you say it. Thank you very much, ma'am. Sir.
In our tradition, I think it is there in many others, that like whenever a food plate is served to you, we first pay gratitude to it. We fold our arms and we say, thank you. Thank you for providing this to us. So wherein we practice gratitude, which is one of the most positive of human emotion. And once if you can practice that emotion, you automatically get into an abundance cycle, because gratitude leads you to cooperation, creativity, then you get into basic opportunity, then ingenuity and exponential growth. So our tradition teaches you as to how to be optimistic, possibility thinker, positivity through such practices of gratitude thrice a day, which I think has been one of the biggest takeaway for me in my life.
Thank you very much, sir. Very kind of you. Sir, please.
Yeah, so there are many, because I concentrate a lot on this space. But one of the things that I'll say that during the pandemic, all of us had a lot of difficulty. We went back to heritage medicine, and we used to have tulsi and spices and various things which my wife used to do. And she used to get this from the market and do it. So then we used to breathe into that and steam into that and stuff like that. So it really made a difference, because it started working. And then I said, what would people in a Bombay do or a Bangalore do when they have this problem? Because the life cycle of these leaves and spices are different. Some of them will never go out of life, like pepper and things like that. Maybe something will last you only for three or 4 days, like a leaf. So now, how do you work on that? So we went into it, had my biotech research team work on it. We created a powder, we patented the powder, and we saved more than 1,000 lives with that. Wow. So this is using heritage medicine, bringing it back into the system and patenting it. And then when we did this, they said, do a clinical research. So I got really angry. I said, this is 3,000 years ago it was done. And today you're asking me to do a clinical research? So you do clinical research because you're just about 100 years old. So I think we don't believe in our heritage, and we want to bring everything into a kind of a format which I want, my way or the highway, which is not accepted.
Absolutely, absolutely. Like I remember a couple of things like moringa has come back to the kitchen, and pepper has come back to this kitchen, and clove has come back to this kitchen. And I think this is all after social media started to roll it out again, saying these are your organic things, rooted things, and you bring them back. But thank you so much. I had a great time learning from all the three of you.
Likewise.
And I'm sure the audience has
something.
Oh, yes, please. That is the platform for ma'am. So if you could please join me here. Yes. You look lovely. Please be here. Take the mic because it's recording going on. And if you could please share your name and where you come from.
My name is Prajakti Gokhale and I'm coming from Pune. I design a curriculum integrating ancient Indian knowledge in my teaching. I have created a curriculum based on Lilavati, which is an ancient 12th century mathematics text based on Navarasas, that is the aesthetics of poetry and mathematics together. So I am trying to create that approach in my mathematics curriculum. Then I'm designing a workshops. We have done that experiment of integrating Indian music approach with mathematics, where mathematics is in the ratios, where ratios plays a very vital role. When there is a soothing music comes, it's nothing but there is a lot of maths inside it. And it is not the course of mathematics, rather it is a course of music appreciation rather than it. So we are doing such many experiments right now, where the ancient knowledge we are integrating in various curriculums. And I think we are doing it and we are evolving it day by day, and our students are evolving it. Some of my students have doing those case studies where they are doing the Python coding based on the ancient algorithms in ancient mathematics. And that's what I see, how I can connect contemporary knowledge with the ancient Indian knowledge. And some of my students are also creating dots or joining dots of kolam, which is the rangoli in ancient India, and the way mathematics we teach to students. It's a modular mathematics, it's a topology, and all ancient mathematics can be combined to various modern mathematics in a very simple way. I think that's what I need to share. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Very kind of you. Ladies and gentlemen, can we please give a huge round of applause to our panelists here? They've been very kind. Yeah, I know that we have to gather at the front for a picture. That's what the protocol says. And but if I can extend the protocol, invite the audience as well to join us. If